Hi, I'm Lucy Beadnell with the ARC of Northern Virginia, and we're so excited to be here for another Conversations with Candidates. Well, we'll spend 15 minutes talking with folks about their thoughts and policy plans. The 2025 General Assembly has a special election coming up for a vacated Senate seat, and we're so pleased today to be talking with Tumay Harding about her run for that seat and her thoughts on disability issues. Before we hear from her, we would like to turn things over to Connor Cummings for some words of welcome. Connor, please take it away.
First, I have to do mine. So, welcome to the 2024 special election conversation with candidates on disability issues. We want to thank the ARC of Northern Virginia, the Autism Society of Northern Virginia, Disability Resource Center, Moms in Motion, Independence, Center of Northern Virginia, Virginia Autism Project, Did Lake, Autism Society of Tidewater, Autism Society of Central Virginia, Spark, Rev Up Virginia, and the ARC of Loudoun. Special thanks to the CRI and the ARC of Greater Prince William. Also, a thank you to each and every one of you watching and recognizing the importance of our vote. Now, I am proud to introduce my son Connor, who will say a few words on the logistics, and then the amazing Lucy Beadnell will moderate the questions.
My name is Connor Cummings. I am a self-advocate and proud to be autistic. Please remember that this is a sensory-friendly forum. Talk about what you can and have done for individuals and families with disabilities. Share your disability experiences and plans, if elected. Please concentrate only on you. Thank you for respecting the sensory-friendly instructions. This is your opportunity to answer our questions and to hear our stories, not just today, but every day you are in office. To all of you who are watching, these candidates are here because they care. This is our opportunity to hear a disability platform to help ensure that our representatives include us in the decision making, not just mention, but to seat at the table. January 7th is a special election where you can vote for the candidate that you feel is best for your needs and supports. Remember to always vote. Our voice matters. Now here is Lucy to start the questions.
Thank you so much, Connor. We are very excited to have you all here today and to get going. So, we'll talk a lot about Virginia's Developmental Disability, or DD, Medicaid waiver system to start. And as many of our listeners may remember, this year, 2024, Governor Youngkin put forth a plan that the General Assembly passed to look at that whole waiting list and make sure anyone who is actively in crisis, called in priority one, was served with the care they needed in the course of this budget. We would like to look at a plan this session to strategically analyze the rest of that waiting list and think about ways to make sure they can get services and receive care, basic care, respite, a case manager, maybe a one time home modification, those sorts of things, without having to enter a state of crisis, the way that our system has traditionally operated. That idea is loosely being called core services, studying the idea of offering some basic care to those folks on the waiting list. And we would like to turn the microphone over to you to hear your thoughts on that plan.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And Connor, thank you. It's always such a joy to see you. So it's disturbing and very saddening to me that there is a crisis situation when we live, specifically for my district, in the wealthiest county in the nation. It should not be a problem. It should not even have to be a conversation of a crisis. So, in my opinion, when these developmental delays are found early on, there should incrementally be sufficient aid, help, whatever the family needs in respect to raising these children into healthy citizens. And when I say citizens, I mean having a routine, being able to be a part of society, and also just feeling good about their accomplishments and being, in the end, to create independent individuals to the best extent possible, based on each different child and each different family scenario. So I think that we need to have more of a bridge. I think that county help would be a big consideration, especially for my county. I know that in these circumstances, there is also, unfortunately, if it's not handled properly, mental health that's also at risk. So I know in my county, that's something that we always talk about, mental health help for all people. And I think especially in this circumstance, it's something that we can work together with and build a bridge so that it is not a crisis situation. I think that it's amazing that the ARC allows this educational platform for people. And I think that that's something that we also need to work on from a county level to broaden people's understanding of it. I think also the proper pay is important for the people helping our citizens of Loudoun County. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think that there's a lot of questions that need to be had to address specific circumstances. I think that money or aid should be based on a lot of different factors, not a cookie cutter factor, and it should be done in a speedy fashion.
Yeah, I would love to build on something you just mentioned about making sure that aid, that care is customized. And one thing that we have seen is when parents of children under 18 who have that waiver
Mhm.
struggle to find an appropriate caregiver for their child, someone who can work with their child's complex needs or their child's unusual schedule, there are limited circumstances where those parents can become the paid caregiver. It can help stabilize the family, that child's care, and that family's income. But we have seen rules take place in Virginia that have said if a family opts to do that because they don't have any other choice, then they lose all choices for respite care for an entire year. No backup caregiving, no breaks for that parent. There's a proposal for 2025 to make sure those respite care hours come back to families. That if you have to be your child's paid caregiver part of the time, that doesn't mean you don't need a break. We would love your thoughts on making sure that respite is given back to those family caregivers.
A little bit background information about myself. I have my undergraduate degree in English literature, and I somehow turned that into sales and worked as a sales professional. But then in 2000, I decided to go back to school to obtain my master's in education at George Mason University. And it was a master's of education, but with a specialty in early childhood development. So I took that degree and I was an early childhood special ed teacher in Prince William County, and then later on in Loudoun County as well. In 2000, I believe it was 3, I had this one student, super smart 3-year-old, and he was diagnosed with autism. It wasn't that his mom she was a single mom. So and part of my job was half a day I would teach and the other half I would go and do home visits with my students so that I could help in any way I could in how to teach the parent with their daily tasks or just helping their child learn, because the number one and first teacher is always the parent, and the parent knows their child best. So having said that, one day the mom said to me, she would babysit occasionally the neighborhood kids, and I asked her, oh, are you thinking about going back into the workforce? And she said, why would I do that? And I said, oh, I don't know, just so maybe you could also just like have a break during the day, get out of the house while, your son is at school. And she said, but then I would lose my benefits. And so to your point, I think that shouldn't be a factor. That mom should also be allowed to, if she wanted, to be able to work out of the home. But she was trapped in a situation because of finances where she wasn't allowed to make an extra $100 a week because of the needs of her son in respect to Medicaid. I think that's definitely something we need to work on. I don't think the parent should be punished for for trying to do better and more for their family. And I 100%, I think it's something we need to push.
We're excited about that option. Something else that we've tapped around here a little bit is the high cost of living in Loudoun County. I mean, Northern Virginia in general, Loudoun in specific. There has been a very successful program called State Rental Assistance Program, commonly referred to as SRAP, that works like a housing voucher. If someone with a developmental disability either has or is waiting for a waiver, it helps make housing affordable, and it's opened the door for hundreds of people to be able to leave their family home and maximize that independence, grow into adulthood, be the kinds of residents and citizens we're hoping to see. But that program is running out of money. So it's successfully serving the people who have it, but not able to take in more folks. What are your thoughts on extending the availability of that SRAP program to other folks who may be interested in making the move to live on their own?
I think that's definitely something also we need to work on. I think everyone needs to be able to have the opportunity to wake up in the morning, get into their routine, and it's all about the little things in life where we strive for our goals and whether there are daily goals, hourly goals, weekly or yearly goals. And I think that we should all have that opportunity to have those independent lives and to be able to support our friends with developmental delays is extremely important. For them to have the support, I think we should consider incentivizing their helpers, nurses, and also just creating that clear communication of what's expected at the rate too, so that everyone is on board. There's no confusion, and also to make it sustainable. And, these are relationships. These aren't just jobs for people. These are relationships. When someone is coming into your home every day, they become family. And to disrupt that, especially for certain people with developmental delays, that can really hurt their progress. So I think incentivizing those supports is very important. I think we should prioritize that, and also creating vouchers for our developmentally delayed friends to be able to be as independent as possible, live on their own, be able to go out grocery shopping with a friend, whatever it is that they want to try and do at least. And also let's lead them to success and set them up for that success.
Yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities to do that. It brings to mind a study that Senator Favola put forth this year on Virginia's Medicaid Works program that has historically allowed Medicaid users who would otherwise earn so much that they lose their Medicaid, if they needed it, to buy into Medicaid, to use some of that additional work income to co-pay their way into staying into that program. But people with developmental disabilities who are using waivers have been barred from entering that program. I think it speaks to a lot of what you've talked about, but we would like to ask explicitly, what are your thoughts on adjusting Medicaid Works eligibility ideas so that folks with developmental disabilities could also work and buy into that system?
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it. Again, we need to just always allow for more growth in anybody and everybody. We shouldn't restrict people based on their disability. We're not them. So by limiting somebody and saying, no, you can't do that because this, you're going to lose this, or, XYZ, I think it's a problem, don't you? These are people, these are not robots. We can't create these textbook expectations, and to be tax-paying citizens, they deserve that right.
I joke often that the big civil rights law that governs disability work, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which has been around for more than 30 years, is all about, exactly as you said, let's look at the individual. What did they need to be accommodated, to be included, to be successful? But our state services for people with disabilities often don't offer those same kinds of accommodations, right? It tends to be very cookie cutter, one size fits all, which gets us in a bit of a pickle. I think we've got time for one more topic today, and something I wanted to bring up that I know is near and dear to Connor's heart, and he mentioned at the beginning, is voting. Right now, if someone with any kind of a disability may need a guardian to make some really complex decisions in life, we assume that means they cannot vote either, and that right to vote is removed, often without any conversations about it. Senator Favola is putting forth a bill that says if you plan to remove that right to vote, you need to explain why. There needs to be a justification and an assessment that shows really it's not just these big, high level, complex medical legal decisions this person can't make, it's voting as well to make sure that right isn't removed without a lot of thought and consideration. What are your thoughts on looking at something like that?
I think it's their God-given right to vote. I think that that's not something that should be taken lightly. As I mentioned before, there are other people that may not have a disability label, but may be suffering from addictions or things that are not surface, and yet they're allowed to vote. And I'm not saying that they can't, but my point is, who is to decide who can and cannot vote? That's not the government's choice. That's our choice as individuals. So I think that, if you want to vote for somebody, you vote for somebody. I think it's as simple as that. And yes, I think that that's something that with the guardianship, a parent should definitely be made aware of so that they can have that discussion and also allow that right.
We'd certainly always love to see that preserved. We wanted to thank you for your time today. We really enjoyed talking and learning with you. And Connor, did you have any final thoughts before we bow out this afternoon?
Thank you for your considerate responses, for learning about our needs and wanting to support us and to give us success. We can all make a difference.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you all so much. Everyone, remember to vote in that special election, and we'll see you at the 2025 General Assembly. Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.